Hayes, go run for Rube.
My legs hurt.
I'll run. Rube's hurting worse than you. Now get in there.
If the gutless wonder doesn't have to pitch, why should I have to run?
Who you calling a gutless wonder, Tin Man?
Tin Man? I got a genuine leg injury here, pal.
Yeah, that limp is the best acting you've done all year.
But at least I don't have some cover girl dragging me around by my Johnson.
What are you guys doing? This isn't nice. Stay away from me. Don't touch me. Help!
I'll show you a fight. Come on. I'll take on the whole team. Come on. You don't know how to fight. You wusses.
Harry, wake up. Harry. Look.
My God! Good news, fans. The Indians are showing signs of life for the first time in weeks. As a matter of fact, they appear to be beating the crap out of each other. It looks like Willie Hayes is trying to hit Rick Vaughn. And why not? Everybody else in the league does. He swings and misses. I don't know, Monty. It looks like Vaughn's carrying his left a little low. This could hurt him in the later rounds.
So what are we going to do?
Toss him, I guess.
The whole team?
Yeah.
All right, you're out of here! All of you!
Just a bit outside.
Hello, everybody. Wow. Welcome in Harry Doyle Fantasy Baseball's very own podcast, Just a Bit Outside. Welcome in to everyone here on this live broadcast of Week 4, Just a Bit Outside. I'm Travis Higgins. Glad you're along for the ride. Yes, this is a 10-team fantasy baseball league with its very own podcast. And it's the best part of my week. Glad you're along for the ride. And let's welcome in my broadcast partner, the man, the myth, the legend, Justin Deering. Welcome in. How are you, man?
What's up, man? I am excited. It is time for the big show. It's time for us to talk some baseball. But more importantly, I'm excited that this is the best part of your week. I thought sharing the word of the Lord would be the best part of your week, but whatever. No, I'm messing.
Look,
but no, it's awesome. It's been another long week, another long board meeting week. So I'm excited to be here tonight as we send our kid back to school in person with teachers.
Yay!
Tomorrow.
Back to school, always fun. Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Week 4, Harry Doyle Fantasy Baseball. Justin, you and I, we're going to break down the Week 4 matchups, another week of double headers in this 2020 sprint. We got a big story coming at you, and it's not a story that you or I or anyone else in this league would have predicted this time a week ago. In fact, you and I and Zach Hawley predicted a much different story than we're going to be talking about in this week's big story. I got a hunch. We'll also take a look at your baseball card collection and see what you've come up with this week. But first, we got to get this started with this week's first pitch.
Dr. Anthony Fauci.
And his first pitch was not great. Just a bit outside.
All right, Travis. So earlier this week, you sent me a text message and you said, hey, check this out. And I checked it out. Because, as we're getting ready for football season to start, I play in a couple fantasy leagues. We're already halfway through this league. I'm really looking for that next big thing. I'm looking for that next fantasy league to join, whether it's NASCAR, hockey, basketball. But you sent me a text message, and it sent me down the rabbit hole of really researching this sport that comes to us from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Bo Tayashi.
Mm.
Obviously, you've heard of it because you sent me the video. But
Yes.
for our listeners out there, Bo Tayashi, and I'm sure I'm butchering that name, and I apologize. This white man does not speak very well for that. So I apologize in advance for messing that up. But this is a game that's played at school. It's like a playground game that has become, it's kind of like cornhole. It's like a playground game that's become this big like national game in Japan, and it is the English translation is pole toppling. It's like capture the flag, but it's actually get the dude to the top of the pole
and
keep him there. And you sent it to me. You're like, this is crazy. This is nuts. But going through it and actually, there's defensive strategy. There is offensive strategy. There are stats. We have a possibility of a Harry Doyle Fantasy Bo Tayashi League coming soon.
Tayashi League. Now, I feel like you left out one of the critical parts. It's not just getting a dude to the top of the pole. It's getting the dude to the top of the pole with 50 men protecting that man on top of that pole.
Have you ever seen the South Park episode where they were worried about the guys taking their jobs?
The first part of the sentence is always going to be no.
So there's this episode of South Park where the rednecks are really worried about people coming in, the rich Hollywood actors moving to South Park and taking their jobs. So they're always like, back to the man pile. They took her gerbs. Like it's an ongoing thing. And watching that video reminded me of that. But the thing is, here's some of the defensive positions that you can take in this game. You could be the rider on top. That translates out to the man on the pole, the single player sitting on or clinging to the top of the pole. You could be a part of the circle, those surrounding the pole in a defensive stance. And then you could also be pole support, the player inside holding the pole up. I think they're actually making the pole stand up while the guy sits on top of it. I don't think it's a buried pole. I think it's an exposed pole.
I think you are making up these terms to sound sexualized in some way.
Hey, if you want to be on the offensive side, you can be an attacker, a pole attacker, if you will.
Well,
or you can get in the scrum.
You're not supposed to be an attacker, and if you find yourself in a scrum, you're supposed to wear protection.
And then finally, obviously, this is the position I think I would be a part. This is the sudden attack. This would be the Chargers, is what they're called. The players charging at the pole at the last minute.
Okay.
Maybe that's more Blake's style, charging at the pole at the last minute. Who knows? There you go. I'm trying to find like a famous player that maybe we could name our league after, but I'm not seeing any. But yeah, 75 men, 2 groups of 75 men. Goodness, 150 men fighting for the pole.
Well, thank you, I think, for
Bo Tayashi.
Bo Tayashi. Thank you,
on the Ocho.
Week 4, Harry Doyle Fantasy Baseball. We have a big story for you this week. Week 4, Harry Doyle Fantasy Baseball. Another week of double headers are in the books. And this week 4 did not go like the previous 3 weeks in our 2020 sprint so far. Big story, week 4, Justin, hands down, must be the winless, the hapless, the hurting, extra 21s. They don't just win one game. They go 2-0, sweeping their week 4 opponents. And it starts with a victory over Beards of Glory, who is on the downtrend the last couple of weeks. But here it is. Justin, I need your insights. I need your thoughts, because Dr. Bobby, first-year owner, takes down the undefeated heading in the week 4, top of the standings. Last week's guest on this show, yes, 287 to 263, Ebony and Ivory has fallen.
Oh yeah, they for Dr. Bobby, this week was big because he saw his offense literally explode for almost 200 points. They may still, I don't know if they saw people going, but they 197 points overall, and a huge week from Tim Anderson, who missed the first couple weeks, I think, and has been really just beefing that banana tree for the last week, putting up 44 points this week in action. That has got to be one of the top weeks we've seen as far as offensive points. Maybe not a Tatis Jr. week, but Tim Anderson, look at that stat line there: 12 hits, 4 home runs. My computer just reset mid-sentence. That's fun. 7 RBIs, 7 strikeouts. It's great. 44.5 points for Tim Anderson. And I saw he made an amazing defensive play. I know we don't get like a lot of points for that, obviously, but I was watching the top plays on MLB Network, and he had a sweet play this week. And then just points he got from Goldschmidt. That offense carried him. Just big points across the board for multiple people. Mitch Moreland, former Ranger, we miss him sometimes. Sometimes we don't. 25 points, big week. Congratulations, Bobby. That's 2 big wins, 2 of your first wins in the league, or your actual first wins in the league. So maybe Bobby has an opportunity to play kind of spoiler in this thing as we move forward. If he can start putting some weeks together and playing people not named the Tigres and beating people not named the Tigres, and maybe we can get some shifting around going in these standings. But big week for Bobby.
Yeah, absolutely huge week. To come out, heading into week 4, to have no victories in the books, first-year owner. And we talked to Bobby about this a couple of weeks ago on the show. He knows fully well where he is as a franchise coming into this. He's in a rebuild mode. But I'm with you 100%. Undoubted. Bobby's trying to play spoiler here. He's not looking to lose. If he can get more weeks like this, he will take it every time to play spoiler. And you know what? He's not mathematically eliminated from that 4th position, but it'll be really hard. But you know what he could do is completely change the makeup of those top 4 spots if he has more weeks like this. And guys like Tim Anderson, on the offensive side, and if Paul Goldschmidt, and let's assume the St. Louis Cardinals can actually stay away from COVID-19 and keep playing, and Paul Goldschmidt can stay on a tear like he had this week, these are the kinds of names that go along with Anthony Rendon. And, I'm not going to expect too much more out of Mitch Moreland, but if he can continue some kind of pace of offensive output, that offense, you wouldn't look on paper and go, oh, that's a scary offense, but it can put up points. And if you're playing extra 21s on any particular week or any game coming up in the next, 3 weeks, you might look and go, man, I really hope these guys aren't hot this week, right? And you add that into stellar performances from Kenta Medea, right? The Twins, that's a good ball club, right? And he's got players on good ball clubs that are doing good things, and it all came together here in week 4. This is a big story for the extra 21s. It's a big story because Ebony and Ivory is not going to sit at the top of those standings heading into week 5.
And I think if you look at it, and we have a history on this podcast of recognizing bad weeks. And for Zach, I think you can look at anytime we see pitching for a week under 100 points, it's tough to win. 87 total points for Zach's pitching staff, who last week on the show, he said, man, I'm getting performances from people that I just didn't expect. And it's nice, and I'm excited to see these people throwing like this. I hope they can keep it up. And then this week they put up 87 points. Now you can't look at you can't say 87 for Zach without saying, hey, Bobby only had 90, but he only needed 90 because his offense carried it so well with that almost 200 points on offense. But Zach, that offense, or the pitching staff let him down a little bit this week. It didn't carry what it normally had, where you were getting big starts from Griffin Canning. Jack Flaherty obviously back from the COVID stint, but only putting up 2 points in his start. Aaron Nola going negative, and he'd had some big starts before that. I just think it was just a down week, and I think we all have them. I think week 1 we talked about on the podcast for the Tigers was not a great week. This is not a great week for Zach. The big week will be next week. Does Zach bounce back, go 2-0 next week to stay pace with those top 4 or 5 teams we've been mentioning the last couple of weeks that can make the playoffs?
Well, it was obviously an up week for extra 21s and Bobby, a week that he has been waiting for, in this shortened 2020 season. But it was a down week for Ebony and Ivory because the team that came in to this week 4 undefeated went 0-2 this week, losing to extra 21s, but also losing to your Los Tigres 298 to 263. And we talked about this before. And of course, this is uncharted territory for all of us going into double headers in a shortened 7-week season. But if you can go 2-0, much better. 1-1, you will take every single week. 0-2 is hard. That's really hard.
Real hard. And I mean, if we're gonna say something nice about Blake on the podcast, now would be the time to do it. I was just informed that he checked out during our talk about Bo Tayashi. So if we're gonna say something nice, now would be the time. So I'm gonna give you 3 seconds. Would you like to compliment anything? Maybe no trades. What do you want to say about Blake, real quick? All right, cool. So we're gonna move on. Let's talk.
Sorry, I had to yawn. Sorry.
Let's talk about the Van Buren boys. They had a big week this week, putting up 326 points. Unfortunately, they went up against a team that put up 405. Van Buren boys come out 1-1. Do we still have Sunday Night Baseball currently going on, or our standings
finished?
Updated?
I just checked. Phillies defeat the Braves 5-4. The game is officially over. The standings have updated. The Van Buren boys are now at 500, 4-4, sitting in 6th place at the end of week 4.
Awesome. So I'm trying to refresh mine so I can take a look at what we're looking at. So Boulding Beavers, 4th place, Tigres 3rd, Wichita White Wolves, Ebony and Ivory. They're not updated on my site. I'm still looking at.
So here we go. Well, I got the updated. Wichita White Wolves sit atop now, 7-1. On the season, going 2-0 here in week 4. Boulding Beavers, once again, going 2-0 this week, now sit at 6-2. It has been an incredible 2 weeks, 4-game stretch for the Boulding Beavers. They have gone from out of the playoffs, heading into week 3, now into 2nd place, and completely controlling their destiny for the playoffs picture here in 2020. Ebony and Ivory and Los Tigres make up 3 and 4. Both teams all at 6-2. But in points, Boulding Beavers have a slight edge with their 2-game winning streak here in 2nd place. And then My Aiken's Army and the Van Buren boys sit at 4 and 4, 5th and 6th place respectively, looking outside looking in on that 4th and final playoff spot.
I think this week was just, like you said, the Boulding Beavers made that move last week that we talked about, made a couple moves here and there to really solidify what was already an amazing pitching staff, and then just to get some points with Bryce Harper. So seeing them scoring the way they're scoring, I'm not surprised. But yeah, what a couple of weeks for them to vault themselves up into the conversation and become possibly the team to beat in this whole thing. I'm hoping that the curse of the team to beat on the podcast pays off. And I've been very strategic about who the team to beat this week is, and it will be Land Boulding. So,
but I think there's one issue with the curse of the podcast. I think it only works if you listen to the podcast. Do we have any evidence Land listens?
I mean, he used to produce this thing back in the day, but,
Technically, his name is still on as a producer, but he hasn't shown up to work in a couple of seasons now.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a while.
So it has been a while. I miss Land. I miss our fishing talks. I wish we could have a fishing segment. I wonder how fast Blake would check out on a fishing segment. He didn't even give us 3 minutes to talk about Bo Tayashi, the greatest sport to ever come other than baseball.
I'll tell you this. It wouldn't be as fast as me checking out on a wrestling segment.
Oh, my goodness. Hey, SummerSlam's tonight. That might be why he checked out. It's a big night for us wrestling fans, like my 7-year-old and Blake. So we so let's run down these scores. We had Los Tigres beating Royal Ruckus 220. That's last week. My computer is screwing up. I am not updating. Nothing's updating for me. Sorry.
All right. Let me take it from here.
Yeah, you commission that. I'll find some baseball cards to talk about.
Your Los Tigres goes 1-1 here in week 4, taking down Ebony and Ivory, but losing to the surprising Van Buren boys, who also went 1-1, defeating your Los Tigres and losing to the Wichita White Wolves, who also went 2-0 against Censored by the Commish. Censored by the Commish went 0-2 in this week, now finding themselves in a deep, dark place in the standings for 2020 at 2-6. In 8th place when it comes to points, barely by less than 100 points from Bobby's extra 21s. And other scores, Bolding Beavers, as we mentioned, they went 2-0, defeating Royal Ruckus and the Beards of Glory. And my Army goes 2-0 this week against Luke's Royal Ruckus and the aforementioned Blake Censored by the Commish. So the 4 spots did not change this week, but the ordering of those 4 spots and 5th and 6th place with Army and Van Buren boys became very intriguing with the losses of those top teams, including Ebony and Ivory, and one loss from your Los Tigres this week, with a couple of pretty big victories from Army and Van Buren boys. How do you think this is going to shake out, Justin?
I mean, we did pass the midway point of the regular season this week, and we head into some big matchups on the week that we'll talk about later. But, I mean, I think it's just a lot of fun that we are getting to see, like we talked about last week. And it's kind of like, I feel like every season that we do this podcast, we find one point that we talk about every show. But I think this year, the doubleheaders, the fact that it's only 7 weeks, a 2-0 week versus an 0-2 week, how much it shifts things up. I just think it is it's fun, and the strategy of that extra Thursdays in there. And now you're throwing in these COVID postponements, like Wichita White Wolves losing the Yankees for the weekend was huge, even though he still put up 400 points. And then just, there was times during that break where, the Cardinals didn't play for 12 days. And there's people that are built that have we talk about Paul Goldschmidt not playing for that long. That hurt Bobby for 2 weeks. The strategy of this whole thing. I'm just hoping that we aren't going to have teams that maybe – I think the week we saw out of Bobby, the big story we talked about out of Bobby shows that even if you're down in the standings, one good week for your team against 2 teams and you go 2-0, you can really screw people up. Like land jumping to second place basically jumping from out of the playoffs to second place in 2 weeks by having 4 solid games in this short of a season just makes every week important, makes every lineup change important, every waiver wire change important. Like what would have happened this week if I wouldn't have noted, if I didn't sit there all week hoping Chris Bryant would come back. I got a 0 for Chris Bryant. Because they kept saying he's coming back, and then finally after the game started on Friday, they put him on the DL or IL or whatever. So, I mean, it's just those little things like that all week. You just got to pay attention and be engaged. And, and then we've also got a trade deadline looming 6 days from now.
We will talk a little trade deadline talk here in a little bit as we preview week 5 coming up. But I just want to say real quick, we got to remember, and I'm pissed about this now because we contracted the playoffs because of this COVID 2020 season. And regular seasons, top 6 teams get in. I'd be in the playoffs right now.
Right now, maybe not after next week, but now, yeah, you would be in the playoffs. I don't even know you're playing next week. I'm just saying that's how crazy the league is this year. Is that
Baseball stuff! Cool!
Let me open today's
I didn't like
baseball
what you were
stuff.
saying.
So you cut me off.
So I just gave you your own segment. Here you go.
So let's start today's show with a story about a baseball card show. This weekend, even in these COVID-y times, there was a baseball card show. And me and Blake Mitchumore went. We wore masks the whole time. Not everybody else did, but we did. And, I'm sure one of us will get coronavirus for going, but whatever. so we walked around. We looked at cards. The big thing that Chris sent in the text message, I guess today or yesterday, about the Mike Trout card. It was cool because there was a couple of those cards there, and we actually if I had that card selling for that much, I got it locked up, right? I don't have it sitting on a table. I walk up, the dude's got it in the slab sitting on a table. I picked it up. I was like, I've never seen one of these before. And homeboy's not even watching. I could have stole it, which leads me to my next point.
Did you think about it?
No, I did not. I didn't because I'm a good Christian man.
You passed the test. Good.
Yeah, so we went and Blake bought a box of I think basketball cards or baseball cards. I'm not sure. He was shopping for both, and I was looking for a Robert Paulson or two. He's a in the A's organization, high selling card right now. And then we didn't buy anything. We walked off. The gentleman walked up. He goes, "Hey guys, my buddy said he saw y'all with some hard cases when he walked off. So he thought we stole something." So I said, let me empty my bag. I emptied my bag because I had bought something somewhere else. He goes, "Oh, okay, no worries. Don't worry about it." So then they run up again before we leave and stop us. Say something again. No, we don't have anything. So then they come outside and they stop us outside in front of the police officers and basically say, "Yo, man, what are those in your hand?" And they were talking to someone else, not named Justin, that was in my group.
Oh,
they were talking to Blake.
Did you record this?
I did not. I wish I would have.
Tell
Blake
me
got a
more.
little upset. Blake got a little upset because he had bought 5 or 6 Luka cards from a different dealer. They didn't give him a bag, so he's just carrying them in his hand. But it's the third time they had stopped and accused us of stealing something. So Blake got a little upset. I slowly just emptied my pockets and put everything on the table. Blake walked off because he was mad, which I totally get. And I think he had a good point of being angry. And I just looked at him and I said, "Are we done here? Because we're just parked outside if you want to come outside and accuse us of stealing something again." Anyways, baseball cards of the week. We're going to talk about some rookies that are out there right now, and they're both injured. First up, I'm collecting part of my personal collection are the Bo Bichette rookies that are out there, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on Bo. I want to spend a lot of time on Superman. Jordan Alverson. Is that how you say his last name? Alverson.
Alvarez, isn't it?
Alvarez. Did I say Alverson? I don't know what I'm talking about. Jordan, I've got about 15 to 20 of these rookie cards, and I wouldn't trade them for anything because I think they're going to be worth so much someday. So I am excited to have those Jordans. And I am collecting baseball cards again. I made another about $25-30 on some real crap cards I bought at that show this week. But here we are. Baseball is back. Baseball cards are back. Do you want me to keep going? I got more. Unless you just want to get into that middle segment. You just tell me.
That is so insider, which I guess fits a podcast for a 10-team fantasy baseball league. Is that Witt Jr.?
Yes, sir.
Whew.
BWJ.
Yeah. Now, you'll really have my interest if you get his dad. He's got a rookie, Bobby Witt.
Give me you keep talking.
Hold on. Let's go to this. You're listening to Just a Bet Outside.
Does the catcher give you signals, or is it all knuckleballs?
Well, I'm about a 85 to 90% knuckleballs, and the other 10 or 15% will be either a sinker or a changeup, something just to get back into a count, or maybe freeze a guy who's looking for a knuckleball with 2 strikes.
Right. And by the time the knuckleball crosses the plate, how fast is it traveling? We don't know, do we really?
Well, there's anywhere on the radar gun, anywhere from 81 miles an hour all the way down to, I've thrown one as slow as 59 miles an hour.
59 miles an hour. 59 miles an hour. And what happens then?
Well, usually it's like that Bugs Bunny show where they swing 3 or 4 times and then it gets a little quiet.
Justin, I don't know if you know this, but I'm known for many things. Probably one of the most well-known things I'm known for is, well, me and R.A. Dickey. We have pretty good knuckleballs.
You R.A. Dickey, huh?
I'm known. Me and R.A. Dickey.
Oh, you broke up there for a second. It sounded like something else.
Yeah, I'm sure I did. I thought, for Just a Bit Outside, you might want me to throw some knuckleballs at you and see how you handle these pitches.
Hit me.
You just don't know what's coming at you.
Damn straight.
What?
I said damn straight for some reason.
Mark that. Oh, Land's not here anymore to mark stuff. Justin, yesterday, 31st anniversary. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Women voting?
That seems like a topic we would discuss on Just a Bit Outside, doesn't it? 31 years ago, I believe yesterday. Of course, we're recording on a Sunday night, but I think it was the 22nd of August. 5,000 strikeouts from the man himself, Nolan Ryan. Justin, I'm sure you were at that game. What do you remember?
I actually was not at that game, but I was at my grandpa's house watching it on his old TV. And it was like, it's one of those memories that's like ingrained in my head that we were in his old house. He's still alive. But we're in their old house in the living room, sitting on the couch, and it happened. And I was super excited because I was a big Nolan Ryan fan. And then it was over. Like, we didn't celebrate it like we did the Luka Doncic 3 that was hit tonight during a basketball game where my kids, literally, me and Katie were yelling and celebrating so loud. My kid ran out of the bathroom with her pants around her ankle going, "What happened?" I'm like, "Oh, put your pants on." She was so nervous that something had happened. But yeah, that's what that's what I remember watching it at my grandpa's house.
And of course, you know who he struck out.
Was it Ricky Henderson?
Ricky Henderson?
No, that was
Yeah, it was Ricky.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was Ricky Henderson. I couldn't remember. I get him confused.
Yeah,
gotcha.
You didn't hear the technical thing because we're still working out this new equipment. You don't hear the background music?
None.
All right, it's good.
I could tell you changed your voice. It sounded a little sexier, so I'm assuming it's like a sexy music in the background.
That's so true. You all are missing something. Yeah, so Nolan Ryan, 5,000. Okay, let's throw another pitch at you right here. This is a little on the news front, Justin. It's a little older. It's about a month old in the news, but I don't recall this being a topic in the news cycle. Did you know that Poland invaded the Czech Republic last month?
Why?
Well, according to Poland, it was an accident and, quote, a minor misunderstanding. I'm curious, when was the last time you had a minor misunderstanding that could have led to global war?
Well, it had to do with something my wife asked me. And I said yes instead of no, those pants don't make your butt look big. Just kidding.
She's not listening. Don't worry. She's not listening. Back onto the sports side of things here, Justin. I'm sure you're as big as baseball fan as I am. I'm sure you've been keeping up with Japanese baseball. Yes.
The KBO?
No,
KBL?
That's Korean.
Oh no! I'm the only thing in Japanese that I pay attention to is Bao Tayashi.
Yes.
Pole toppling.
Yes, but the other sport of that country is baseball. And of course, like everyone else,
nothing's more Japanese than baseball. Gotcha.
Well, it's true. And Japanese baseball, like every other league, is not having any fans in the stands. And so here's an interesting little tidbit, Justin. The Japanese Baseball League introduced dancing robots in place of actual human beings in the stands. I'm curious, where do you stand on AI and specifically dancing robots?
Okay, I've seen the video, and it's really weird.
It's creepy.
It's very creepy, and it's very I Am Legend-ish, and it's
that's good.
If we had to rewrite the movie for the current times, it would be because of COVID that the robots took over. And I'm not a big fan. I mean, I do like that I can say a person's name and it will play music when I want it to. I can't do it because there's one right here and it'll train wreck the show. But I like that I can do that.
We're already
I don't like That's a good point. I don't like – I mean, it's gotten to a point where I'm at my buddy's house and he's like, hey, so-and-so, turn on the backyard lights to 50% and make them green. Poof! And it's like – I mean, and that's very basic AI. I'm not even talking about dancing robots or like, those
Terminator.
Like, it all started with the sushi belts, like those restaurants where the sushi comes around on the belt and it can tell what you're eating. That's where it started. We're doomed. We are doomed.
That is a problem. Justin, I'm curious. I know you've heard about this. Would you book a night at the last remaining Blockbuster?
Yeah, absolutely. Do they give you a VCR or the old school Nintendos?
It's a great question.
If there's an old school Sega Genesis, I'm in.
Yeah, you've heard about this BR, this whatever
Airbnb,
Airbnb, whatever it is that they listed it on in the Northwest, but it also makes me wonder. You look like a guy who still has a Blockbuster movie out and hasn't returned it. What is that movie?
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, the first one.
Yeah, everyone knows Bogus is part 2.
Right.
What's the name of the third one?
I don't. It comes out like next week, doesn't it?
Well, it's supposed to, I can't keep up with the movie dates anymore, but yeah, it's supposed to be coming out.
Movies here open to this week. They had movie theaters open on Friday night because it was a big deal for some of the people I work with. They were all excited to go to a movie.
Yes. COVID Central, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah.
And Justin, just real quick, the San Diego Padres were the first team in history to hit 5 grand slams in 6 games. 4 of those were in a row against, the Texas Rangers. More importantly than talking San Diego Padre baseball, which I'm feeling like I could do more and more these days.
So good.
Let's just talk about how great those uniforms are, can we, please?
Well, okay, if we're going to talk about how awesome their uniforms are, can we talk about buying hats or jerseys for teams that aren't your team?
That's hard.
Are you allowed to have, if I really think the Nationals hat is really cool. Am I cool to have a Nationals hat that I wear sometimes, maybe if it matches the outfit I'm going with?
So I own a Nationals hat. I bought it the first year they moved to DC. The first time I ever wore it, by the way, was in the World Series last year when they were playing the Asterix. So generally my rule is no, I'm not wearing other teams' merch.
Cool. Okay. So maybe the brown Padres hat that I saw on Blake's back seat should just be a souvenir and not a wear it every day thing.
Well, those are pretty sweet uniforms.
They are sweet, and
I like them.
I'm just going to put it out there, like the unwritten law talk that went down this week in baseball that we haven't touched on tonight is such horse crap. Please, Manny Machado, hit your grand slam, flip your bat, pimp it. Tatis, if someone's going to just belt high you one at 0-3 or 3-0, just hit it 500 feet.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Pimp. Look, bring some personality to baseball. Get over these unwritten rules and pimp the game out and make it fun.
Look, there is, what I find egregious is the manager of the club that's getting bashed saying that he didn't like him swinging 3-0. What crap is that? There's a reason you are grooving a pitch at 3-0. It's because you're down by 7 runs. What's the kid? This is ridiculous to even have this argument and to even and Tatis Jr. had to apologize. I don't get that. 3-0. Who gives a crap? Swing.
I was watching MLB Network and they were talking about this, and I guess it was. I don't even know who it was. One of the former Red Sox that's on there. And he was talking about how when Pedro got to a certain point in his career with the Red Sox and he would get somebody 3-0, he would just hit him with the 4th pitch. and everybody's like, why? Because he started hitting a lot more people. And they're like, why are you doing that? He's like, I didn't want to waste a good pitch on 3-0. They're not going to swing anyways. And there's no guarantee I'm going to throw enough. Because if he's having a bad day, he said he would just if he got to 3-0, he'd throw at the person. and just either walk him or hit him just because he didn't want to waste a good pitch because he probably already lost the hitter. I think that's
Pedro
brilliant.
said that?
Yeah.
Well, as terrible as the Rangers are, maybe they should just load up the bases every time. That's ridiculous.
I mean, I never thought I'd see the day in fantasy baseball where I scroll the waiver wires to see if there's any pitchers out there throwing against the Rangers. Because that's how I sign my extra starts. If I need an extra start, I find somebody pitching against the Rangers.
Yeah, it's bad. All right, those are my knuckleballs. How'd I do?
You did great. You struck me out.
I know.
Actually, you threw the first three, and they were just outside. Then you grooved that last one and really got me hyped with the Padres. And I put it 500 feet, and I flipped my bat, and I pimped it.
You're listening to Harry Doyle Fantasy Baseball's very own Just a Bit Outside. We are wrapping up now. We are in the wrap-up portion of this week's episode, the Week 4 episode of Just a Bit Outside. Justin, we have a whole slew of doubleheaders heading into Week 5. And yes, Week 5 is trade deadline week. Sunday night, the end of the Week 5 scoring, the end of Sunday Night Baseball. All trades must be finalized. We've had 9 trades so far in this short season. Justin, let's talk trades before we run down the games of the week. Are we going to see any more trades before this deadline this week?
Well, I think if, with the way that the standings are lining up, you obviously have got a set of teams that are all in, and they are all, fighting for that 4th spot. There's a little bit of separation between 4 and 5 now. So those top 4 teams, this is the week. If they, depending on the way it shakes out this week, and we've got a couple of them playing each other in these weeks, I think you're going to see a couple. I don't think you're going to see major moves this week. I don't think you're going to see another Bryce Harper or Mike Trout style move because I really feel like the teams that have shown their cards, and we talked about this earlier today just in text message, that if you've shown your cards that you're all in for this year, you're kind of empty for the most part. You're empty on what you have to offer. So I don't know that you're going to see these huge package deals, 10 to 12 players, 8 players, even 7 players. I think if you see anything, it's going to be just like a solidification move, or maybe you've got a position player that's out for a while, or, knock on wood, God forbid, a COVID outbreak happens Monday or Tuesday somewhere and we postpone a bunch of games and we don't know what it looks like, and just trying to find out, just trying to make sure you fill all those positions with players that are going to contribute. Because this is kind of a weird year with this COVID thing. You don't want to have too many people on one team. Because if you have a bunch of people on one team, half your lineup shut down. Even though you can stash them down there in the minor leagues, half your lineup shut down. So it's spreading the wealth out. But I don't think you're going to see a bunch of trades. I think you might see 1 or 2 minor trades. Will they be big names? There are some expiring names that are out there, expiring contract big names that are out there. I don't know that the all-in teams really have the pieces to make the move still. So we'll see. You never know.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you when you think about trade deadline, which is this Week 5, that we are approaching end of Week 5. All trades will be final, which is a day before Major League Baseball's trade deadline. I'm with you. I think we're going to see very little action. We've seen a lot of trade action in earlier weeks this season, but I don't think we'll see much more. There are 6 teams that are legitimately looking at a playoff spot for 4 spots. We could break down those 6 even more and go, there's really 4 teams that have the greater chance. But you think about the 9 trades that have happened in this league so far. I think it's 9. That's what my memory says. When you think about the trades that have happened so far in 2020, the teams that bought, and what I mean by that too is those teams that kind of went in for 2020, Los Tigres, Bolding Beavers, Ebony and Ivory, right? These teams, I'm wondering, is there any more that these owners like you, Justin, are willing to give up for more pieces for 2020? And my gut says, no, I think you're done. I think you're done giving up more, trade chips for pieces of 2020 because you feel like the team you have outside of those COVID concerns, the teams that currently occupy the top 4 spots, those owners are feeling like this is the best team that I can put together without necessarily mortgaging my entire farm system or my top 5 guys in my farm system, something like that, right?
Right, I agree. I just think that we're seeing so many injuries this year, for whether it's the lack of preparation or whether it's the preparation layoff and preparation again and playing, or if it's the not a lot of rest. Most teams are used to 1 day off a week, 2 days off a week sometimes, and we're getting like the Rangers. Some of these teams are Rangers you have 8 off days during the season. The Rangers had 2 of them the first week. It just didn't make sense. So I think you're
3.
seeing some people starting to get injured. And that's where, if there's going to be moves made, I could see maybe somebody's got waiver wire guys, or maybe somebody's got expiring contracts that work out for, maybe a mid-tier prospect. Me personally, I don't see that there's a move out there that would even remotely, unless it was just foolish, pull me off sides on Mackenzie Gore. I've had him for 2.5 years. I was hoping he'd see some time this year just to see what it looked like, but doesn't look like he's going to. But I don't see myself saying, hey, I would like to have, whoever has Mike Trout. Zach, give me Mike Trout. I'll give you all these prospects. No, I've already traded most of my big ones that I was kind of holding as trade pieces. The ones I'm still holding on to that have been there for more than a year are people that I really want to manifest through my system and fit into the future plan if they come up. Like I said, I don't see major pieces to make moves to get into the top 4. I think the top 4 is pretty solidified, but you may see those minor moves to fill those spots.
Yeah, I think so. And here's point in case. The number 1 scoring first baseman is getting no traction in trade talks. Jose Abreu is better than all of your other first basemen point-wise in 2020. And I think that's not because people don't want Jose Abreu an expiring contract, but I don't think expiring contracts at this point in the season, after all the other trades that solidified or built up or bolstered rosters a few weeks ago, they're not appealing anymore, right? If you can't trade, and it doesn't matter, I got a first baseman. Nah, you probably could use his points. Let's be honest, right? But, that's from a market trade standpoint. As a team owner who owns Jose Abreu, by the way, and is sitting in 5th place, you know what? It's not a bad idea for me to make a push. I'm willing to go for a playoff spot right here and kind of go for it. So it's this dynamic that every trade is looking for. Future pieces, now pieces. How do we – and sometimes you can balance both those. I'm just guessing it's going to be quiet this week. That's my guess.
I think it will be. Like I said, I think it will be minimal noise unless there's a little, unless there's something happens Monday or Tuesday and someone loses a player and you got to pull something off Wednesday and Thursday before that Friday close of business on the lineups for this week. I don't see anything really happening over the weekend because, we haven't gone over the matchups for next week yet, but there's some big matchups in there among that top 4. So the top 4 could look a little different next week as far as the placings, but I don't think the top 4 looks too different next week as far as the 4 teams that are in there. And I don't know that warrants making a move. I know you'd love to be a part of that top 4 next week. You have a big week, you do it.
Just wait.
Are you putting it on paper?
Yeah, mark it. Aiken's Army, 4th place next week.
Who you dropping out? Me? Because I'm in 4th place right now.
No. I think the Mike Trout curse is real. I think Ebony and Ivory's dropping.
Interesting. Well, let's run down those matchups and see who he's losing to, so we can figure out who you're jumping into.
You know what we just are going to find out from what I just said. We're going to find out who listens to this show.
Yep.
This deep into the show.
Well, do you have Anchor? We haven't looked at our Anchor analytics lately to see if people are listening. So, but yeah.
Week 5 is here, Justin. Aiken's Army is taking on Zach's Ebony and Ivory and the losing Beards of Glory. I couldn't think of a better word, Colby. Sorry. It's a rough couple of weeks for the Beards of Glory. And they'll try to get at least one victory going against Royal Ruckus as well here in Week 5. Land's Bolding Beavers Big week for the Boulding Beavers as they'll be taking on the Van Buren boys and Zach's Ebony and Ivory. Boulding Beavers going to be looking to continue their winning ways here. Censored by the commish, taking on Your Los Tigres and Luke's Royal Ruckus. The Wolves will also be taking on Your Los Tigres and Bobby's Extra 21s. Can Bobby continue to play spoiler into week 5? And the Van Buren boys will also match up against Bobby's Extra 21s. Justin, Los Tigres, Wichita White Wolves, that's a pretty appealing matchup in week 5, isn't it?
That's a pretty big one. That's it's always a fun matchup when me and Chris play each other, and it seems like we always end up pretty close at the end of the week. So on Sunday night, it's always fun to kind of watch the last minute. So I'm hoping for that this week. The injury bug is slowly catching up to the Los Tigres. We've avoided quite a few with trades by getting rid of people before they blow their arms out and stuff. But now we're cursed by the pinky finger and the wrist this year. We've got 2 wrists and 1 sprained pinky finger, and those are 3 huge bats I expected. So I'm hoping everybody else can pick up the slack and we can make it competitive this week. But for me, looking up and down, I'm interested to see just that Ebony and Ivory versus Boulding Beavers game is going to be huge, I think, because Ebony and Ivory's got to make a move this week, got to win a couple games to stay in the mix. You there?
You hear that?
Yeah.
Can you hear
it? Froze up for a second. Yeah, I can hear it. That's the exit music. I like
that. You hear the music? Yeah, that's exit music. You're ready to go. We're 52 minutes deep into this week 4 episode of Just a Bit Outside. Justin, rank this episode scale of 1 to 10. Where do we stand here?
Well, I wasn't super drunk, so I give it about a 6.5, 7.
6.5. Okay. For Justin Deering, I'm Travis Akins. You've been listening to Harry Doyle's own Just a Bit Outside. Justin, a little quick knuckleball at you. Did you know? I know you're very, dissatisfied with things going on in your job, but did you know you could be hired as a bed warmer for major hotel chains?
Don't tempt me with a good time.